Hey everyone, Duke Nougat 3D here with another mask for you guys, and this is a mask which I am having an especially fucking hard time reviewing. I've attempted reviewing this mask at least 8 times by now, but some technical difficulty or error in speech causes me to screw up the entire thing and I have to start all over again. But without further ado, my United States M40A2 Field Protective Mask. The M40 series was developed by Scott Aviation after successfully landing the XM40 trials of the mid-1980s, and began production sometime around, well, I don't want to say production, they pretty much got approval to produce it around 1985 to 86. However, they could not produce the M40 in massive quantities. By the time of the Gulf War, there were only 500 in circulation. So afterwards, around 92, Scott Aviation handed the M40 contract over to MSA and ILC Dover, who then began producing it themselves. And the M40A2 here is the final amendment to the series, and I'll go over the differences between each one. The original M40 featured a black inner oronasal cup similar to the MCU2P mask, and it also used a secondary skin which was sewn into the chemical hood, and it was quickly replaced because it was found this secondary skin, the way it attached to the facepiece, was very prone to leaking, and also the black inner oronasal cup was very uncomfortable and unergonomic to wear, and complaints arose from that as well, so a replacement was needed. I believe in 1995, but I could be wrong, sometime around the mid-90s, the M40A1 was introduced, which upgraded the nose cup with a softer, rounder olive drab one, and the secondary skin was separate from the hood as one solid molded piece and featured a peripheral hood stop around the circumference of the seal itself. It also introduced a couple of new accessories, but other than that, not too different from the original M40. The M40A2 was no difference from the M40A1, however, the secondary skin was upgraded to be a slightly thinner material, was a bit longer and covered more of the facepiece, and it also did away with the circumference hood stop, which was unnecessary at that point. And just retained a smaller hood stop on the chin section of the mask, and also included a neck guard as well. But again, the facepiece was entirely identical to the M40A1. So that's pretty much it about the history. The mask is still in current issue today, for the most part. It is trying to be replaced by the M50 and M53 Joint Service General Purpose masks. However, it is not entirely successful. It has not been able to fully replace it, as there are still stocks of the M40A2 currently in use with reserve backup issue masks and for training purposes only. But nevertheless, the M40A2 remains persistent and is still in use today. Only a couple countries have actually copied the design, with Serbia's M3 mask being sort of a combination of the Canadian C4 and the M40A2, as well as South Korea's K2, which is a loose clone of the M40 as well. 3M currently has the contract for the M40 series. ILC Dover and MSA no longer produce them, and they produce it under the designation FR-M40. So anyways, that's about it for that. So let me get onto the accessories before I waste my camera memory. So here are the neutral gray lens outserts for the mask. The M40 is one of the first US masks to feature neutral gray tinted lens outserts separate from the normal ones, which I currently have installed on the mask here. I normally leave accessories uninstalled from the masks for reviews for clarity, but I decided to just show off the general aesthetics of the mask to leave a few accessories installed. But anyways, the neutral gray lens outserts are pretty typical affair, protect against UV rays, and I did hear there are some claims that these protect against flashbangs. However, I really don't believe that's kind of the case. They're just UV protection from what I know. The M40's lens outserts are actually, a lot of people ask about ballistic lens outserts, and I think the M40's might actually have a decent amount of ballistic protection to them, but don't take my word for that. I would hold that claim with a grain of salt. Just keep in mind that the main purpose of lens outserts is to protect against fogging and also scratching and general wear and tear to the actual lenses of the mask itself. So anyways, next accessory here is the M291 Skin Decontamination Kit. These were issued as a semi-replacement for the earlier M25A1, which I do believe were also used with the M40 series. However, you see more of these being used with M40s than M25A1s. Comes in a cheap paper sleeve, and it comes with 6 packets, just like the M25A1. I do believe they're a bit larger, and I think that they're all the same type of pad, but I could be wrong. But anyways, pretty typical affair, nothing special to mention there. Here we have the ABC M8 chemical detector paper, another common accessory for US masks. This is a modern, current issue production one that expired in 2016, as you can see. But nevertheless, this is a modern issue one, and the purpose is exactly the same as the old ones, just a dye-impregnated booklet of paper that changes color in the presence of certain types of chemical agents, particularly nerve gases. Here you have the M1 waterproofing bag, another common accessory. Don't need to go into detail on that. You just use it when the mask is at risk from getting water damage, and that's about it. Here you have the manual booklet for the mask. This one is dated February 1st, 1994, and is for both the M40 and M40A1. I don't believe the M40A2 had its own proprietary manual, so I would imagine it would be kind of common to see these manuals issued with M40A2s. And M40A2s also did have the preventative maintenance service checklist flashcards, which are a more dumbed down version that kind of highlight the key points that you need to look for and do to maintain proper care of the mask for those too bored to read through the entire manual. Here we have the carrier for the mask, and this is the last variant of the M40 carriers, which I like to dub the soft shell ones because they have no reinforcements in them. Pretty basic carriers. They're made entirely out of Cordura nylon material, very durable. You have US Mask M40 series printed on the front. I do believe more recent ones will have an NSN number printed below that, but mine does not, obviously. On the back here, you have a very simple pouch for the decontamination kit. This will hold both the M40A1 and the M291. On the top here, you have a sleeve, which I assume holds some sort of user ID tag. Earlier M40 carriers had a plastic window so you could see the tag, but this one does not, so it leaves me a bit questionable to the purpose of the sleeve, but I assume it's for user ID tag. This pocket right here is mostly to hold the the waist strap when it is not in use for storage, or just to keep it stored for when you're using this strap right here, which is unclipped and hooked onto the belt, so you can carry the carrier on your belt rather than have a strap going around your waist. Then you have the small thigh strap here, which is a bit clumsy and awkward to use compared to older carriers, since the point of attachment is a bit further back and it leaves a significant amount of the carrier flopping about when you run, but nothing too bad about the carrier design. It'll hold up. It opens with a pull tab and a large patch of Velcro, which I hope is not drowning out my voice as I speak. On the inside, it is slightly rubberized for water resistance, and there is nothing inside except for 3 large pockets spanning the entire length for holding the various accessories. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the carrier. Up next is an accessory that, gotta be careful here, this mask wants to fall over here, so I apologize if it does fall over on camera, but anyways, enough about that. Here is the most important, yet also optional accessory for the M40 series, the M40A1, M42A1 Quick Doff Chemical Hood. This is, in my opinion, the greatest chemical hood design in current existence. It is so simple, so easy to use, just an overall well-rounded good design. It can fit a wide variety of masks, not just the M40. There really isn't too much that can be said about this other than it's one of the most perfect chemical hoods in existence, in my honest opinion. If you feel there's a better one, feel free to challenge me. But anyways, very simple, has elasticated openings, and it has very simple buckles for undoing and doing up and all that good stuff. So enough about that. I recommend you pick one of those up just because they're so handy and just because they're so versatile and well made. And then we have the mask itself, and there are very many things which I do not like personally about the M40, but it is still a very good design, and in my opinion, just has its own flaws. The M40 series masks were issued with either a black C2 or a metallic green C2A1 canister. The M40A2 in particular used the C2A1, and modern issue M40A2s will sometimes have a olive drab plastic version of the C2A1, which is a little bit uncommon to find, but they're becoming more common as the masks begin to get surplused. So anyhow, that's the filter. I have the clear lens outserts installed on the mask, which I'll probably remove here for the video to show what the lenses look like underneath. It's nothing really special. The good thing about US outserts is they really don't give you all that much fuss when you try to install them when compared to Russian outserts or Czechoslovakian or Czech Republic outserts. Very simple. They pull off and they stick where you need them to. As you can see with my example, and it irritates me too, so if anyone's going to notice it, I might as well just point it out now. My particular example has the lenses crimped slightly off center. As you can see, this one is a bit higher than the other. This irritates the hell out of me, but I'm going to have to live with it, and so will you. The mask has a 6-point harness, very typical affair. It is made out of an olive drab silicone rubber, and as you can see, mine is a size large and stamped US, of course. US equipment always has to have US stamped on it for whatever reason. But this is where complaints begin with this mask. The olive drab silicone, the reason... I do not know the reason why they chose to make the mask entirely out of silicone. Most of you should know by now that silicone has a tendency to melt or corrode when in exposure to certain types of blister agents, particularly sulfur mustards or lewisite. This is the reason why secondary butyl skin was added, so that the silicone would not melt in the presence of certain chemical agents. Kind of a redundant design when they can just make the mask out of butyl, but whatever. You have a front centralized voice emitter here, which has threads to accept an MSA VPU, and do note that these can only, it's not that they can only accept threaded ones, they were designed for the threaded ones. You can in fact fit an MCU voice emitter, which are the common ones that have the clips on the side, but do note that if you were wearing this mask with a second skin, it will be quite difficult to install a MCU voice emitter, VPU. So you'll really want to look out for the threaded M40 voice protection units, but they are quite uncommon, keep in mind. You have a side voice emitter here, which can be swapped out with this threaded ring and put on the other side, depending on which hand you are and how you fire your rifle. Pretty standard for a 4th generation modern NBC respirator. The outlet valve here, pretty typical design. It has some bumps on the inside for de-icing the valve and holding it down to clear it. It doesn't work that well, but whatever, it does what it does. This is another complaint I have about the mask, is its drinking tube. The drinking tube is entirely way too short. If it were a bit longer, that would be great, but if you are a normal right-handed shooter and have the canister on the left side of the mask, the canister will impede your access to this drinking tube and make it very awkward and a lengthy process to get a drink of water, especially if you are wearing chemical gloves. So one of my biggest complaints about this mask is its ridiculously short drinking tube. The inlet valve of the mask is nothing special. As you can see, there is a valve spider on the inside there, which unfortunately are very hard to locate on their own. I don't believe you can actually buy these on their own, so you'll have to keep an eye out to make sure your mask has one of those undamaged when you buy one. My particular example was made in 1999 by ILC Dover. It is stamped both on the second skin and on the mask itself here, which I doubt you'll be able to see all that well. My camera does not like to pick up markings very well. I'll try and give you a good look at it here, but in case you can't read, it says 99 ILD, and then it has some serial stamps. There is also another serial stamp on the lower right cheek strap, which I doubt you'll be able to see as well. I currently have the modern upgraded skull cap harness installed. Very useful, very comfortable harness. Really not all that much different from the default harness in terms of comfort, but it adds an extra degree of security when you're wearing it, so I recommend it. And they're not expensive either. I think you could get like 2 of them for like 10 bucks, probably even less nowadays. I will try and undo this without knocking something over and screwing up the video, so I can show the inside and complain about more stuff with this mask and then wrap up the video before my camera dies from lack of memory. So you can get a good look at the profile of the mask from here. You can notice the hood, the neck flap on the secondary skin, as well as the hood stop on the bottom chin portion there. Flipping the harness around, you can see the interior of the mask with its secondary, interned periphery face seal. The inner oronasal cup is one of the things you will need to look out for, as the M40A1 nose cups have a tendency to get warped like this. However, it will not always impede your seal, so do keep that in mind. You can see the inner drink straw and the primary voice emitter throughout the back of the nose cup there. You can see the outlet valve if you peel back the chin cup. And this is one of my most hated parts about the M40, this deflector plate here, because as you will notice, there is a silicone channel that it fits into, and it has 2 pegs that fit through it to install, and this is just entirely redundant and very overcomplicated to work with. Some people will claim that they're very easy, but I personally find them very difficult to work with, and I just absolutely hate it. So all in all, I don't think the M40 is a terrible mask. No, it is a very well engineered and very durable mask. If I would compare an M40A2 to an S10, I would say the M40 is a lot more durable feeling and will hold up a lot better to general wear, tear, and abuse, but the M40 does have its big shortcomings in terms of protection and ergonomics, so I would choose this if you want something that you can really beat up and expect not to fall apart, but do keep in mind it is a very complicated mask to maintain properly, and there are a lot of X factors which determine the general outcome of its performance. So, that being said, that was my review on the United States M40A2. I'm Duke Nuke 3D. If you have any comments, questions, corrections, or concerns, drop them below in the comments, and I'll see you all later.